Devil got my tongue once again, but there will be some cussing in this episode of Bewitched Banter. Content is not suitable for all listeners. You have been warned.
Welcome! You're listening to Bewitched Banter.
I'm Krista, and I believe that people are inherently shitty.
And I'm Amy, and I tend to believe that people are naturally good.
But ironically, I'm a super believer in the supernatural and all things spiritual.
And I'm a total skeptic.
We're best friends, and in this podcast, we're seeking to explore and understand each other's perspectives, with deep dives into the spooky, the spiritual, the magical, and the mystical.
And some straight up spoofs.
Today, we're covering Satanism, and I am so stoked for what Amy has in store for us.
Yes, I am so excited. I honestly loved learning about this so much. I was researching. I just kept looking, which tells you this is going to be a long one. There was so much good information I wanted to include that I had to cut myself off. I think there's a little bit of Satanism in both of us.
Oh.
And I don't know if I drank the damn Kool-Aid. I love Satanism.
Okay. Whoa.
Yes.
Let's get into it. Tell me more, tell me more.
This is like the one episode I was like, whoa, I can actually get behind this whole religion. Where most of the time I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, you're usually like, fuck religion, usually.
Once you've listened to it, you're like, okay, what Amy was saying at the top makes perfect sense for why I agree with like so much of what they like strive for in the world. I have a question for you. Obviously, you learned a little bit about Satanism through your research, so you know a little bit now. But let's put yourself like before we started this podcast, what would you have thought Satanism was at that point?
Devil worship, I think, and
100%. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, like I knew it wasn't necessarily actually devil worship, and it was actually more of a positive spin on humanity, because other podcasts I listened to had set the record straight on that.
Okay, I thought personally it was like devil worship. That's what I thought it was. And I think it's like one of the most misunderstood religions probably out there, I would assume. It was hard to research because there's so many different branches of Satanism. It'd be almost like if I was trying to cover Christianity in one episode, because that would be a really hard one to cover, right? It wasn't until the 1960s that it was actually officially recognized as an official religion.
Okay, so like with the like 401c3 religious non-profit status or whatever that is. And as a religion, you don't have to pay taxes, and that's how Scientology gets away with it and rakes in so much money.
Okay, I knew that.
So, like, I'm wondering, like, in the 60s, as you're saying, if this is what was happening with Satanism, with, like, their, like, tax status.
Whatever she said. I don't know. But even before Satanism was deemed an official religion, Christians have been calling and claiming people were Satanists and worshiping the devil. Obviously, we've covered this at length. Like, we know with, like, the witchcrafts that happened in Europe and America, and then still at large today on more of the eastern side of the world, that people are being accused of being a Satan worshiper all the time. And the first records of people being deemed as Satanists was against the Knights of Templar. This was a religious, wealthy army that invaded the Middle East during the Crusades about 1,000 years ago.
Okay, so I had heard that name before, but I didn't know it was that old, to be honest with you.
And I thought this was really interesting. So the Templars were accused of worshiping, I think you covered this in our devil episode, Baphomet. Am I saying that right?
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
And they were accused of worshiping him, which is a form of Satan, which we covered. Mm-hmm. But historians actually believe that Baphomet to them was actually a version of Muhammad, and they were actually secretly Muslim the whole time.
Okay, sorry. Repeat that one more time. Let me see if I'm following here.
So the Knights of Templar, right? Where people were calling them Satanists during the Crusades because they feel like they were worshiping Baphomet. But really Baphomet to them was a version of Muhammad. And they were
their god.
Yeah, and they were secretly Muslim. Are you following?
No, I do. it's essentially the Christians pointing the finger at Muslims or anyone that's not following the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and saying that because you don't follow Jesus, you're the devil or devil worshiper. Even though Baphomet was, in this instance, Muslims' god.
During the 1980s and 90s in America and Britain, there was something called the Satanic Panic. And we know this is like, basically was a moral panic where people were starting to accuse people of worshiping the devil, murdering children, because the devil...
Sex rings, all that bullshit.
Yes, because the devil told them to do so, which we are definitely going to cover at some point, 'cause that would be an interesting one to cover. But first of all, there's never been any evidence of people worshiping the devil, and there has never been an organized religion around it either.
So what's Satanism technically?
So Satanism as a religion, it's actually like more of a philosophy. It centers around the freedom of an individual. So to Satanists, Satan is a symbol of mankind's free will. They don't actually believe in the Christian version of Satan. Imagine like the red horned devil with a pitchfork and tail. And the first official church was in 1966 by Anton LaVey, which people referred to and nicknamed him the Black Pope.
Yes, and I'm going to be covering his data.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about a little bit about LaVey. But before I get into that and his branch of Satanism, I want to discuss there's different trends that are seen throughout these different branches of Satanism, right? Okay, so the satanic branches all share a few things in common. So the really main echoing theme I really hear is that the philosophy is live the life that you want to have and not the way that people see that you should live your life, and you don't have to like live your life according to religious tenet. Like do what you think is morally right and what you think is good or what fits your life.
This may be going out on a limb here, but it kind of reminds me of libertarianism before libertarianism got crazy.
It could be.
You know, because libertarianism is all about you do you, man, I do me, man, no judgment. Supposedly. That's how it used to be anyway.
Yeah, that's a lot of what it is. And Satanists are sometimes individuals who simply follow like a self-centered philosophy. So what does that mean? It means they focus on what is under their control and they create their own moral virtue.
See, now that's self-care right there. Maybe I am a Satanist.
I like it. And then some Satanists are in organized groups and they meet at scheduled events, almost like they're attending church. And the two most popular groups are the Church of Satan and Temple of Set. And they don't like to have a lot of hierarchy. Obviously, they have to have some leadership because, like, you have to have some leader making decisions to get things moving forward. Like the Catholic Church, you know, we have like the Pope, the Bishop. They try to avoid that, but they still do have leaders in the group. But they call it a low level of hierarchical leadership. And it's a loosely agreed upon practices and beliefs. So there's not going to be like so structured as like Christianity. And they follow a left-handed path versus a right-handed path. So a right-handed path would be Wicca or Christianity. So what is a left-handed path? I didn't know the difference.
All I know is in Catholicism, at least, Jesus or the Son of God sits at the right hand of the Father.
So you're way off. But basically, the reason I bring this up, because they said it's a vital component of actually understanding what the religion is. So the left-handed path is considered to be about elevation and centrality of self. They reject religious authority figures and societal taboos. The focus on the strength and the will of the practitioner. So they're focusing on right? And like not listening to, hey, I have to adhere to these rules because my priest is telling me to do blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
Whereas the right-hand path concentrates on symbols of goodness, herd mentality, and submission to God and religious authorities. But also the right-hand path does believe on community, ritual, and dogma. But the left-hand path is more about focusing within. I believe the right-handed path, putting this like in simple terms, if someone's like, I still don't get what you're trying to say, they're not looking to some figure for their answers. It's like you can find these answers within yourself.
I absolutely love that.
And so there are three main styles of satanic practices, which then obviously have much smaller branches. I'm going to talk about each one. So the first branch that is very popular, it's called Rationalistic Satanism, which is the Church of Satan that was started by Anthony LaVey, and it's probably one of the most popular. So LaVeyan Satanism is atheistic, meaning they don't believe in any superpower, right? In the Church of Satan, God nor Satan are actual beings, like no one believes in it. The only God that actually exists is the Satanist, the individual. So you, the practicing person, you are the God.
Amazing. We are queens, but we don't need no crown.
It's like,
Okay. I'm absolutely seeing why you led the way you did, because this is amazing. Sign me up. Sign me up.
Yeah. And the Church of Satan, founded in the mid-1960s, explains on its website the following, quote, Satan to us is a symbol of pride, liberty, and individualism, and it serves as an external, metaphorical projection of our highest personal potential. We do not believe in Satan as a being or a person. So it's really, to me, it's all about striving to be the best individual you can be and kind of living the life you want to create rather than like what people tell you to do. And like not being ashamed and like put down. Like I feel like sometimes religions are very condescending and like they shun people. And theirs is like more a celebration of like being true to yourself. And the Church of Satan puts the individual at the center of the universe, where what High Priest Peter Gilmore described as going from an atheist to a letter I theist.
Huh.
So like atheists obviously don't believe in anything. Atheist is like you believe in yourself.
I fucking love this.
That I know. I was like, I love that.
Holy shit.
I'm totally for it. They believe that human emotions, even if it's bad, should be channeled and controlled rather than being suppressed or shamed. They believe that the 7 deadly sins, such as like gluttony, greed, can lead to physical, mental, or emotional gratification, that they shouldn't all be suppressed. Because that's actually, at the end of the day, you're human. You're going to have
sexual desires.
Yeah, and you're going to be jealous of people. You're going to get angry. It's like, yeah.
Ooh, what, me? Was I not just talking about this shit like 20 minutes ago?
Yes, you were. You were on an angry rant. The X came up. So, yeah, it's like at a certain point, I like the fact they're like, it's okay to feel these things.
Yeah, like, as we know, my experience with Catholicism, everything's supposed to be repressed or under wraps or tied in a pretty bow that everything's fine, and presenting this perfectionism is image, and you repress a lot of desires that are unnatural to do so, and it's really unhealthy psychologically.
100%. It's like we are human at the end of the day. No one can be perfect. But it really does boil down to celebration of oneself. They encourage people to seek their own truth, and they encourage people to indulge in desires without the fear of what society will think, and to really work on perfecting oneself and living the life they envision. I was like, preach! I can get behind all those things.
Fucking A. Can we like go sign up right now? Is there like an official sign up that we can add our email to the email list?
I don't know, but I was like, damn, I feel like I would get along with these people. And the Church of Satan explains their view by saying, quote, we see the universe as being indifferent to us, and so all morals and values are subjective human constructions. Our position is to be self-centered, with ourselves being the most important person. And then in captions, it says the God, like you are a God, basically, of our subjective universe. So we are sometimes said to worship ourselves.
I kind of like that. I really do.
I do too.
The like only thing I like veer away from a little bit is the community thing. Like I obviously I think everybody should know by now I'm a huge empath, and you know, I just really hope that they don't get too selfish where they forget about the community at large and the greater good.
Oh, they're huge into community.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's good, because I do believe like everyone's connected.
Well, it's part of the reason they have the whole religion is because they wanted to create a community of like-minded individuals who think this way. So they're big into community. And I thought this quote did a really good job of summarizing how LaVey and his followers felt about organized religion as a whole. And to me, I thought this was super powerful. Quote, the whole concept of Satan's tempting man is wrong, quote, Mr. LaVey said. On the contrary, he motivates man. We just think it's time the devil was given his due. The devil is the guy who kept all the churches and businesses. Mic drop. Come on.
Yeah.
So true. People go because they're in fear half the time. I remember when I went to church, I'm not saying all churches are like this, but I remember there was a certain, like, if you don't get saved, you end up in hell. And that it's like,
I don't remember if I had said this on a prior episode or not, but I'm going to share it anyway. So a while ago, I was watching a History Channel doc around Easter and Jesus coming again, which essentially, you know, his resurrection, which is Easter. It was so fascinating in this doc. They were talking about how after his death, like, the church completely co-opted all of Jesus's teachings, and they did so to monetize the church and capitalize on it to make it, you know, commercialized. And it was really, really fascinating. But the point being is, like, they played on that fear that you're talking about exactly, and they used that fear to make money off of people's fears.
Believe it, 100%.
Well, and it's such bullshit, you know, because at the end of the day, Jesus really was just a human, and from what I understand, a pretty damn good one. And he was not nearly as perfect as they obviously portray, but, you know, he did some pretty awesome things for the common good. But unfortunately, again, was co-opted after his death to capitalize on people's fear of the devil.
Wasn't it Gandhi said something like, oh, I like this Jesus guy, but I don't like his followers? Yeah, and this is not to shit on Christianity, this episode. It's just that I like the idea of, like, being open-minded.
Right. Well, you know, and people probably think that I'm, like, shitting on Christianity every episode. I'm not.
We kind of are.
But I, you know, after being raised in it and then just seeing all the molestations by priests, it's just, come on now. That isn't what Jesus would do.
Well, and I also think, like they kind of said, it's like a control tactic. But getting back to it, I wanted to talk about Anton LaVey himself because I think he's like a really interesting character. So Anton LaVey, he ordained himself because he honestly couldn't find anyone else who would do it for him.
I kind of dig that in a weird way.
In an interview, he stated that he was prepared to be the leader of the religion through his experience of being a lion trainer for a popular circus, a professional organist, crime photographer, artist, hypnotist, and psychic investigator. So one hell of a resume. It makes my resume look really boring.
Wow, I didn't get any of that while researching his daughter. I got some of the, like, crimey type stuff that he did that was unethical, but all this circus stuff, that's wild.
And his father was a real estate salesman, and he lived an ordinary life. LaVey claimed that his grandmother was from Transylvania, and he grew up listening to stories about her. She would talk about demons and vampires. So that's, like, had a huge impact. A lot of Satanists, not all branches, but some of them do believe in the paranormal and magic a little bit too. So it just depends who you talk to. So I made a note here because I said she talked about demons and vampires. And I said, you know, the normal bed stories you listen to as a kid when you're going to bed and you're hoping not to have a nightmare.
I cannot with that shit. I still have trouble to this day at night with mirrors.
Mirrors?
Yeah, because of Bloody Mary.
Oh, my friend, we went to stay in a haunted hotel in Allie, which you know, but so we were in a haunted hotel and I left her at the bar and went to bed, and then she comes in like 2 a.m. or something. I don't know. We all go sleep. An hour later, she's in the closet screaming Bloody Mary.
Like literally saying Bloody Mary or like screaming?
Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, show yourself. I was like, Allie, can we go to bed?
No fucking way. I would be like so pissed at her because I'm like so terrified from that shit from my childhood still.
I was like, girl, can we go to bed? I'm tired. Where was it? Okay, so he studied criminology in college and he was an apprentice numerologist.
Whoa, that's badass. Yeah.
And for all those people who are a lot more like me, I didn't know what a numerologist was originally in that hippy dippy shit, but basically it is...
I think there's some science to it.
There might be. I'm sure there's like patterns in nature.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
But basically a numerologist is someone who places faith in numerical patterns and draws pseudo-scientific and references to them.
Which is like why I'm into it. Yes.
Yeah. And obviously, he's a very eccentric guy. Like, I don't feel like I even have to say that. Like, if you start a religion called Satanism, damn, you have some balls.
And I'm going to save it But there's definitely a little video clip that I'm going to share with you for my story on his daughter, and he certainly looks
I think he was like famous before this even. It almost to me is a little bit like he started this religion as like a talking point, but I also think he did a little bit to like taunt and get reactions from Christians, because I feel like the fact that you had to choose like the word Satanism, like, damn, you wanted an uproar, you wanted people talking about you, or you would have chose a different name that wasn't so controversial, right? He did claim to have affairs with Marilyn Monroe and Jane Mansfield, which I didn't know what she looked like. She's like a pinup model, that white blonde hair. And he always got a lot of attention from the media. He like absolutely ate it up. He loved it. And one of the moments is when he got more attention, all eyes on him, was when he performed a satanic wedding. I guess that's like when a lot of people learned about who he was. And 2 years later, he published the official Satanic Bible. He was always giving like interviews, TV appearances. He wrote 4 books. And a lot of directors actually would reach out to him to consult with him on like, how should we portray the devil in this movie? And he even played Beelzebub in Rosemary's Baby.
Oh no shit! I think we watched that together.
No, I didn't. I don't think I watched that with you. That's the one movie my mom said she remembers like terrified her. And I watched it with her, but I was like, this isn't scary. But I know at the time.
I mean, yeah, obviously the effects were terrible given the time, but it was pretty good otherwise. But most terrifying to me was the herd mentality, where they all just hop onto this like witch coven and believe in the devil and these ritualistic practices that are actually harmful to people and humans.
I don't even remember it, to be honest. I need to watch it again. Yeah. Well, even the original Ring, it's not scary anymore. Now you watch it and you like laugh, even in this short amount of time. So he's quite the entrepreneur, though. He had a small business and he would spend the night in graveyards and haunted houses.
Hard no on all of that.
So and like he would like charge people either like $2 or it could even be up to $100. And like it was like all for him to like scope it out to see if like he would see ghosts.
Like a paranormal investigator.
Yeah, he definitely believed in that. He passed away at the age of 67, and at this point they held a secret satanic funeral for security reasons. And even though he didn't die on Halloween, on his death certificate, it's going to list Halloween as the day he died.
I did read that in my research on Dina, his daughter.
Yeah, it was like he actually died, I think, like 2 days before or after.
Well, that is a little uncanny.
I kind of like it, though.
Like, also, why you gotta change it? Like, the 29th is close enough.
He is the king of Satanism, so I don't blame him. Oh, and so his longtime companion, because he had a partner, and his daughter held a conference to let followers know what this meant for the church. At the conference, they had a life-size replica of LaVey, one of those wax dolls, and they informed their followers that the Satanic Church would continue on. I went to, and you probably will talk about this at length, but it sounded like to me the daughter wasn't happy with the direction the new religion went.
Yep.
And the partner took over.
Yep.
So now I'm going to talk about the second popular branch. And this is the theist branch. So there's the theistic or non-theistic. So they obviously believe in higher power, right? So the second most popular branch sometimes is called the theistic branch or esoteric branch. In 1974, Michael Aquino, who held leadership role in the Church of Satan, he broke off and created his own group. And this is called the Church of Temple Set. Very popular. Mm-hmm. So they believe in a central God. It is often viewed as a father or older brother, and this God is often called Satan. Other people in this branch refer to the God as Set, hence where they got the name Temple Set. So Set is an ancient Egyptian god that is based on the notion of self-improvement or self-creation. So again, very common theme throughout working on oneself.
Which we can all get behind. I mean, I know I can.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, it's self-care. Hell yeah.
Whichever god or saint they believe in is drastically different from the Christianity version. They believe that these paranormal beings demonstrate sexuality, indulge in pleasure, and rebel against Western ideals. So another key feature of theistic Satanism is that they practice ceremonial magic. So theistic Satanists believe that seeking knowledge is an important thing that Satans value. Mm-hmm. And this stems from the Adam and Eve tale of the serpent telling Eve to eat the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Of course, blaming the women once again.
Well, they don't see it that way. They actually praise Eve for taking the apple. They think it's a good thing because she took the apple from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And they're like, Eve was trying to learn more. So they celebrate that.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that too.
That is so cool because so many religions are obviously male dominated.
Patriarchal?
Yes. Patriarchal was the word I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. I was like, fuck yeah, I'm totally for that. And like, who wouldn't want to eat the goddamn apple when you're told not to eat the apple? Someone tells you not to do something, you want to go, it's like makes you want to do it even more.
Did we not also just discuss this on my aforementioned rant? Tell me no, see what happens.
But they also value self-development. They see Satan as a god that encourages individuality and freedom of thought. He also values the idea of raising oneself up through magic and one's own initiative.
Okay.
They also believe that Satan wants more of an equal relationship with his followers compared to a traditional god that you would see in most religions. So you're like equal rather than he's your almighty. I don't know how else you would put it.
On a pedestal.
Yeah, on a pedestal. That's a good way to put it too. And so they're seen as equals rather than him commanding and like having control of your actions. They believe that people who believe in the Abrahamic God, not just Christianity and other ones, define good as bad when someone rebels against God. They define bad as when someone does something to harm humanity. This means several theistic branches preach for their followers to not be controlled or oppressed by others, or have a herd mentality, and they also tend to reject non-governmental, such as church leadership. So they're kind of told, like, fuck that, in better terms.
Well, yeah, again, kind of respect that.
Satan in the Old Testament is known to test people. This is why this branch believes that Satan sends tests in life so people can grow and develop as individuals. So the church is actually really all, like, to answer your question earlier, they're all about community. So this particular temple, they're known for like holding blood drives, donating to the homeless, really like paying it forward to the community.
I love that.
So they really center around like building a stronger community.
I'm surprised that like people, churches, community centers, wherever they're providing these services, like actually allow that just because of the more nefarious reputation of Satanism, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But good for them. More power to them for really being in the community and being good people, despite what is spoken about them and their religion and beliefs.
So Satan in the Old Testament is known to test people. This is why this branch believes that Satan sends tests, like if you lose a loved one or any kind of struggle in your life. And these tests are really to help us develop and grow as individuals. And they strongly convey and believe in the idea that people are responsible for themselves and it's up to someone's will for how they live their life. And it's kind of like this community gets together and it's a little bit of like a celebration of oneself, but like how can we better ourselves too? Be better people.
I'm so like in a good way triggered. Like after the conversation we just had, that's all I'm trying to do.
Be better? Yeah, we all should. But also with realistic standards, because there is a culture that's obsessed with like, you need to better yourself. You need to better yourself. And it's like at certain points, like you can just be and be happy. That's fine enough.
Right. So my therapist tells me anyway, not to be such a perfectionist, which never thought I was, but here we are.
I love Satanism though, as I said.
I thought you weren't kidding.
Yeah, and I thought it was like, I feel like I could totally agree with so many things. In my story later, I feel like, damn, they're badasses, and you're gonna love it especially. But I really feel like they did part of what they did. They kind of flip things on the head. They want to show people like by them being so outlandish and saying they believe in Satan is almost a way to have people kind of look at what they're praising and like what their religion's about. Like, is it so outlandish? You believe in this God, but there's no proof that there's a God out here. So why is it so crazy for us to believe in Satan?
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's exactly the point I was trying to make when people were trying to protest the moniker of the Sun Devils last fall, where I think it was a Christian organization that was claiming that using Sparky the Sun Devil as a mascot and just the moniker Sun Devil Athletics is against their Christian religion. Well, what about Satanists? Who that is their religion? You gonna go against theirs just to throw that aside just because of your Christian values? That doesn't hold up in fairness or in a court of law, I don't think, nor in logic, actually.
And it's not a Christian university. It's a secular university. That's a big thing and I'm gonna discuss this a lot more at length, but a big thing they do is pushing, you can't push your religious beliefs on us. This is a secular country. You have no business being in the government.
Freaking preach. I love this. I wish church and state were actually separate. I mean, I guess it never really was, or they never really were.
But it's not church and state. It's not like we're taking, Hindu beliefs in. We're only taking Christian beliefs in.
Correct.
And that's another thing that they really fight against, and I'll keep my mouth shut, but I'm really excited to get into my story later. But if you stuck with us this long and listened, I thought I would finish it out by reading the 9 satanic statements that are in LaVey's introductory chapter of his book. Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
So Satan represents indulgence instead of abstinence. And my nose just said, did Krista write this?
Well, clearly.
Satan represents vital existence instead of spiritual pipe dreams. Amen. Satan represents undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-deceit.
Nice.
Satan represents kindness to those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ungrateful people.
Oh my God. Freaking triggered. Especially after the conversation we just had.
The conversation we had was about our ex, because you keep saying it, and you got to tell listeners what you talked about.
The conversation we just had, yes, the ex came up, and we were just talking about how I maybe regressed a little bit in my healing journey after the divorce, after the holidays. And, obviously holidays bring up old shit and old memories, and they were a little tough. Way better than last year's. So that's a step in the right direction. But
she's got a lot of anger.
Oh, do I ever? I got a swell of anger bubbling up. But girl, it's 2022 once again, and I'll be going kickboxing this week and getting out all that aggression and sheer rage out in a very, very healthy way. So super stoked about that this week.
That's the conversation she keeps alluding to.
Yeah, my bad. The ex and how I'm fucking angry.
Okay, moving on though. Okay, Satan represents vengeance instead of turning the other cheek. Satan represents responsibility to the responsible instead of concern for psychic vampires. What the hell? Yeah,
hey, that's like Gwyneth's vampire spray. Well, shit, maybe you should sell them to these people or Satanists. There you go. Free PR advice, Gwyneth. Call me. I know Amy's first on your list because she actually wants to work for Goop, but call me 203. Just playing. Don't at me.
Satan represents man as just another animal who, because of his divine spiritual and intellectual development, has become the most vicious animal of all. Damn, that's dark. Satan represents all of the so-called sins as they all lead to physical, mental, or emotional gratification. Satan has been the best friend in captions Christian church has ever had, as he has kept it in business for all these years. So I don't really get all what I read just then, but I thought it was interesting.
The animal one, I think I'm a little bit confused on. Can you read that one again?
I think they're saying that we're equal to other animals. Don't think you are more worthy than another life. That's what I comprehend. It said Satan represents man as just another animal who, because of his divine spiritual and intellectual development, has become the most vicious animal of all. Which, okay, maybe I read that wrong. So maybe they're saying that humans are very destructive, which we are to this earth. I don't know. Maybe we need to go to a satanic temple and ask them to explain these to us. There is a local satanic church where I live, but we're going to try to reach out. They might say no, but hey, never hurts to ask in my philosophy.
I don't think so. Sounds based on the tenets you just said and shared. Sounds like they'd be open.
If they got the time. So now I'm finished. What do you think of Satanism?
I think I am into it.
Would you call yourself a Satanist?
No, I certainly wouldn't. Just like when you asked me if I would consider myself a Wiccan in the Western Witches episode, no, I wouldn't. Neither that nor a Satanist, because I haven't studied or read or attended any of the masses or rituals or ceremonies, so it would be unfair and unjust to those who really do practice and spend their time studying the craft and religion.
Well, I'm behind anything that's like live the life you envision, celebrate oneself. Like, I don't know, I really like their philosophy, and I hope I got it right. It'd be really interesting to actually attend like a satanic church, and I don't know if you call it church or temple.
Do they have public mass, or do you have to like be indoctrinated into Satanism to attend? Probably should have asked that at the top.
I have no idea. That'd be a really good question. We can look, but from what I gathered, the little I know, I was like, damn, I'm digging this. This is awesome.
Yes, great job. I am in. Sign me up.
So anyway, we got some awesome stories coming your way. Sounds like Krista will be covering the daughter of Satanism, and mine is going to be a little bit about actually the Satanists being our last chance to fight the crazy heartbeat bill, abortion bill that was just passed recently in Texas.
Oh God, that's gonna send me down a whole nother anger path, isn't it?
But it's good what they're trying to do. Okay. Yes, we're sad that passed, but I guess we'll wait. Let's save it.
Yeah, let's save it. And we'll see you guys on Thursday.
Yeah, tune in. And thanks again always for listening. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you do, please leave us a review. It makes our day, honestly. And I hope you dig Satanism. Tell us your thoughts. I mean, I thought it seemed pretty cool to me.
Anyway, if you are a Satanist and you're tuning in and we got some facts wrong, I'm sure we did, please email us, set the record straight. Email us at bewitchbanter@gmail.com. And we'd love to have you on if you're available, and you can come on and tell us what it's all about.
Anyway, on that note, tune in on Thursday, and peace, Bewitches! Music, Phantom Fun by Jonathan Boyle from PremiumBeat.com. Podcast edited and produced by Krista Hinz and Amy Holt.